everybody, and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be talking to you about ending the learning difficulties in the prison population. This is an article that was done by my local hometown MP by the name of Tom Hunt, and he's very passionate about special educational needs and people with disabilities. So I found this article on my local hometown newspaper website. I did actually get permission from him to use the article in its entirety. I have told him that it's highlighted and I am going to be critiquing it, and I also do have permission to use his image on my thumbnail. He is fully aware this video is being done, so that was just a little disclaimer just to let people know in case they think, oh, you're using a politician's picture without his knowledge and you're using an article that he's written without his consent. No, I do have his consent. He is fully aware of what I'm doing on this video. Thank you, Tom Hunt, for allowing me to use your picture and to use the article. Deeply appreciated, and I do respect you if you would have said no, but as we're both passionate on the same subject, I felt it made sense to give my own opinion. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Ipswich MP says we must end the learning difficulties to the prison pipeline or population. This week on the Education Select Committee, Tom Hunt was discussing prison education, and they held an evidence session on Tuesday with the heads of a number of charities responsible for supporting and promoting prison education. The witnesses in this meeting that were given evidence were Lisa Capper, MBE, Director of Education and Skills at the social justice charity NACRO, Sharon Lawrence from St Giles Trust, which helps the homeless and prisoners get back on their feet, and Julian Smith, CEO of Bounce Back, which trains up ex-offenders who have been in the criminal justice system. I agree with him on certain points of this article, so let's get my notes ready to critique it. There is much to be said about the technical aspects of running educational programs for offenders within the prisoner system. However, I want to better understand some of the issues relating to special educational needs and how these are assessed in prison. This is what Tom said. So that is what he said. I'm going to give my own opinion on that statement right there. I agree with him that there is technical aspects to running programs for offenders in prison. However, he has pointed out the important issues relating to SEND, aka special educational needs, and how they are assessed in prison. As an autistic woman, I feel it's important to give my opinion as a disabled woman. The data shows that 30% of the prisoners have a learning difficulty or a special educational need. Now, it has been stated that this figure is an underestimate. I should imagine it's closer to around 50-60%, as they rely on self-reporting when an offender comes into the prison environment. I believe what Tom was saying is that we strongly need to have more accurate knowledge of how much the prison population has of special educational needs to improve education. So that's my thought on the first paragraph. Let's get into the second paragraph here. In the evidence session for the Select Committee, we heard that data reports that 30% of prisoners have learning difficulties. When he asked around the individual witnesses, there was consensus that this figure is a dramatic underestimate. And then he says that, but firstly, if we have an accurate picture of the number of those coming into the prison environment with a special educational need from early on in their sentences, then we'll be able to tailor their prison education directly to those offenders throughout their time whilst they're behind bars. So, let's get my thoughts on that second paragraph, shall we? What did I say here? Let's see. If we get accurate numbers of those offenders coming into prison with the SEND from early on in their sentence, we'll be able to better tailor the provision and education to the offenders through their time in prison. I agree. We should have a register of people who have a special educational need within the prison system, and then professional and personal support can be given based on the prisoner's needs. I agree that prisoners who have a SEND need to be given education that can help them to contribute back into society. So let's get back into what he says. Education in prison is a crucial aspect of the rehabilitation of prisoners, and a goal that when they come out they might contribute to society in more valuable ways than previously thought. It is therefore very important that we get this right. So what did I say in regards to that? Let's have a look, shall I? As an autistic woman, I also agree that SEND is underfunded, and I think this is due to misunderstanding and stigmas and not having somebody in government to hold to account. I agree that we need to get prisoners tested early on in their sentences, because I believe that there is a significant link between children and adults with learning difficulties and a SEND condition. Also, I should add this includes adults, as they well too will fall into the criminal justice system. So that is my feedback to that paragraph. And then Tom says, secondly, and what I believe is one of the greatest importance, if we get a more accurate depiction of the levels of SEND amongst the prison population, then we might be more fully aware of the implications of underfunding of SEND in our education system today. Until we get every person tested, we won't know the true scale of the problem and how to move forward and support. Well, of course, I agree with that. So let's get into my notes of what I said about this. A study was done by the Prison Reform Trust in 2008. It found people with learning difficulties and disabilities are 7 times more likely to come into contact with police. This is a totally shocking figure to me and absolutely astounded me. The subject to control and restraint, and that they spend more time being put into solitary confinement. The Prison Reform Trust has acknowledged that the inmates were, instead of that strict statistic, where the best place to record whether a prisoner has a learning disability or SEND. I must say, is very impressed with the article for the most part. I'm very happy that Tom is trying so much to help people who have a SEND condition or special educational needs. As an autistic woman, I'm very passionate about SEND and gaining understanding and knowledge and the best appropriate way to get inclusion within society. This includes within the prison environment. I feel that society is still very lacking with understanding to SEND, and I fully support Tom with his campaign for trying to help prisoners. I also think that we could better diversify this project into our local communities and include people with autism, dyslexia and dyspraxia. So let me know what you think down below, guys. I'm going to read a little bit more of the article that he says here. He says, it is well known that there is a significant link with children and adults with learning difficulties who go into fall in our criminal justice system. So I've just basically read that bit. And I'm going to go into the other bit that I got here. It says the National Council for Special Education has explained that there are serious emotional outcomes for learners who do not have their learning difficulty picked up within the early years. They state that schools have an essential role to play in the prevention of behavioural difficulties. This may develop as a reaction to the learning difficulty. The link between learning difficulties and behavioural difficulties will be firmly established within their primary school years, if the appropriate intervention and support is made available or offered. Again, it comes down to lack of knowledge. It comes down to people that are basically not aware of the prisoner having needs and how to best support them. And yeah, I feel that that is a barrier that we do need to cross and fix when we get to crossing it. And then Thomas finally said, as someone with dyspraxia and dyslexia, I know how fortunate I have been to be diagnosed early on at school and get the support he needed to get on and excel in his education. And then I'm going to read the final bit here. It says, Julian Smith from Bounceback also agreed that we should aim for proper assessments for SEND, but raised the fact that testing in this way would be incredibly resource heavy. However, my argument is that putting in place provision for testing in prisons so that we better understand the full extent of the problem might be one of the most socially beneficial measures that we could start to introduce. If we introduce the scale of the problem and fund SEND within early years, then we might be able to address behavioural problems before they actually start. The benefit to the taxpayer in pushing down the prison population and driving some of our most creative things to society will be truly immense. And then I'm going to read the final bit here, which he's actually said here. When it comes to providing first-class support for SEND, while not everything is about the money, making sure we have sufficient resources going in at every stage isn't just the right thing to do at a moral level, but at a societal level too. Ultimately, it is with unmet needs which makes it that much harder that these people will end up in the criminal justice system. It is not just bad for society, but for the exchequer in the long run. And of course, any offender needs to be punished firmly for what they've done. Agreed, totally. I agree if you go into the prison system, I agree if you've done something, you serve the time, you get the training, you come out and you change. That's how my mind agrees with him and how I work in general. I believe that you can change until you prove me otherwise. So, I don't believe, like he says, I don't believe in soft justice. I think it's important to have a deterrent. But this doesn't mean we should give up on taking steps to prevent the reoffending rate. Absolutely agreed. Absolutely couldn't agree with him more. Absolutely. We can hopefully make the case for more SEND funding within earlier education. The stakes couldn't be any higher. Get this right and we can utilise the talent of unconventional thinkers, which is great for our society. Get it wrong and we can end up with more people simply in the criminal justice system. So again, I definitely 100% agree with him. I think it's something that we should have done a long time ago. And I think the problem is that we've had lack of knowledge and how to best support that person who may fall into the criminal justice system. And also the fact that a lot of people, like he said, they go into the prison system with not declaring their disability or learning difficulty. And the problem is, how are we meant to treat someone if we don't know? It's about getting to know the prisoner, getting to know their background, their story, their family, making sure we know how to best support them. So let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me down in the comments. I will link the article down below in the description box, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!